Chullin Daf Kuf Yud Ches. Today we're going to be discussing the new concepts of Yad and Shomer, the handle of food and the protector of food, the bone that holds on to the meat or the stem that holds on to the grapes, and the Shomer, the protector, like the peel of an apple, the shell of a nut, or when it comes to meat, the skin. How does that affect Tumah? How does it transmit Tumah? How is it susceptible to Tumah? Is it mitzdaref to Tumah? That's today's sugya. There's a Mishnah in Uktzin that says that a yad, a handle, can receive Tumah and can give out Tumah. In other words, if the food is not Tameh and it touches the handle, the bone, touches something Tameh, then the entire food becomes Tameh. And if the food is Tameh already and the bone touches something else, another food, then that other food becomes Tameh through the bone. Even though the bone all by itself is not susceptible to Tumah, but since it's part of the food, then it can transmit Tumah and receive Tumah. However, a Yad cannot combine for the shear of Tumah. So the shear of Tumah, let's say, is a kibetza, and now you have a half a kibetza of meat, and you want to combine a half a kibetza of a bone to the meat and make it a full kibetza, it doesn't work, because that bone is a Yad. But when it comes to a shomer of food, when it comes to the peel, to the skin of the food, since it protects the food, it's a much stronger item, and therefore not only does it receive Tumah and transmit Tumah, but it also can combine together with the food, with the fruit, or with the meat to make it a full shear of a kibetza. And something that's not a Yad and not a shomer, such as here, it neither doesn't receive and it doesn't transmit Tumah, it doesn't do anything. And now for today's sugya, this amazing sugya of Yad, where do we know the concept of Yad and Shomer? The Gemara is a very lengthy Gemara. It goes through 5 Hava Aminas, and the Gemara slugs them up back and forth, but we are doing the synopsis and we're going to go straight to the point. There's actually 3 psukim that talk about Yad. One pasuk is by the seeds of fruit, one is by an avela, and one is by an oven. Says the Gemara, according to this pshat, that from the pasuk by seeds, we learn that when it comes to tumas oichlin, the tumah food, a yad, the handle, can receive tumah. And since it can receive tumah, certainly it can transmit tumah. Because, you see, the bone itself is not susceptible to tumah. But since it's part of the meat, or the stem is part of the grapes, it can, the Torah tells us, it can receive tumah. That's a tremendous chiddush, because if it's already part of grapes that are tameh, or meat that's already tameh, it's less of a chiddush to say that what's attached to it can transmit tumah. So now we know that a yad can receive tumah and transmit tumah. That a shomer, that a protector, a peel, the skin can receive and transmit tumah, we learn from a Gavach Chomer, because it's much closer to food than a handle is, because it actually protects food, where a handle does not protect food. And if a handle can receive and transmit tumah, so certainly a protector can. The Torah says, Zera Zerua, that a shomer, the protector, can actually be mitzdaref to the food that is protecting to create the shear of tumah, like we discussed earlier. So that we learn from the pasuk Zera Zerua. By nevela, it also discusses a shomer. Yet by nevela, the shomer, the protector of the nevela, the skin of a nevela, is not mitzdaref to the meat. It has to be pure meat to have a shear, pure meat of a kazayis, and the skin around the meat is not mitzdaref to the kazayis, because there's a meat in the pasuk that says benevlasa. It has to be the actual meat itself and not skin. Even though we can learn from a Kavach Chomer this concept of shomer by an avela, that the skin, if you touch it, you become tamei, and well, it itself is always tamei, it is created tamei, so the only way is that it transmits tumah. I can learn that from Kavach Chomer, but there's a concept of kolmas of the Kavach Chomer, Tarach, because of lakra, the Torah says it anyways. However, by the shomer of food, that we said that the Torah tells us, the word shomer, not the word shomer, the concept of shmir by food, to tell us that there's a tziruf. Over here we say, yes, although but where you could darshan it and say that it comes for something else in addition to what we already have, to say that it's mitzdaref, the concept of tziruf, then we do a drasha. So why do we need the Torah to tell us 3 times the others? One by the seeds of food, one by nevela, and one by oven. So the Gemara says each one has its own pircha or chumrah to it that I wouldn't be able to learn one out of the other 2. When it comes to zraim, the seeds, in order for them to become tamei, they need a hechsher tumah. As we know, you need to pour liquid on the seeds in order for them to become tamei. Whereas by oven and a nevela, you don't need a nevela is inherently tamei without any hechsher. If the Torah wouldn't say it by oven, I would say that it's not food. Now, not food is a very weak pircha. But as we said the other day, that when it comes to matzad, and you're learning one thing from 2 other things, you could say a very weak pircha. So you say oven is not food, but seeds and a nevela are food, even though it's a very weak pircha. And if the Torah wouldn't say it by nevela, so I would say, Dai lavi min adin leiskini. Then if I'm learning nevela from an oven and seeds, they are not able to make humans tamei, so nevela wouldn't either be able to. That's why the Torah says by nevela. Rav Chaviva learns the pasuk a little differently. This concept of yad. He says that the 3 psukim that we said before, lochem, come to teach us that a yad could transmit tumah. Not like we said before. Before we said that a yad can receive tumah and then therefore kol can transmit. He says no. It comes to say that a yad can receive. And the shomer that we have by nevela teaches us that food could also receive tumah. And the pasuk of shomer by kol zaruz asher zareya comes to teach us the concept of tziruf. Now the Gemara has a question. If, as we said yesterday, that the source for shomer is because we said by seeds, it's the way you seed it, and the way you seed it is with the peel, with the husk. You throw the seeds of wheat and barley into the ground. You don't remove the husk, so therefore the husk is part of it and it's mekabel tumah. So what do we do with the Mishnah that talks about the peel of a pomegranate? It talks about the crown on top and the hairs that come out of the crown, but the bottom line is that the peel of a pomegranate is susceptible to tumah and it transmits tumah. But why? It's not something that you plant in the ground. If you wanted to plant the pomegranate, you take one seed and put it into the ground, or better yet, you take a branch of a pomegranate, but you never put in the peel. Therefore, the Gemara says the word zera 3 times. Kol zera zerua asher zoreya, one to teach us about the shomer of food, one to teach us about fruit themselves like pomegranates, and one to teach us like in our Mishnah, which is also a big problem. It says that oir v'haroitev, that the skin combines with meat. Meat is not something you plant, and therefore we have a 3rd pasuk to tell us that meat, fish, and eggs combine for the shear of there's a concept of shomer. Machlokes Rav and Rabbi Yochanan whether the handle can make food susceptible to tumah if you just pour water just on the handle on the stem of grapes. Do all the grapes become tamei? Is it something you learn from logic because it's the beginning of tumah, or do we learn now from the pasuk because in the same pasuk it talks about making fruit susceptible to tumah? Then it says tamei, and then at the end of the pasuk it talks about yad. But yad is far away from the susceptible of tumah, the hechsher tumah. Could we learn lifnei fanav or not? The Gemara brings a brisa like Rabbi Yochanan that a yad does make fruit susceptible to tumah, and finally that in order to make fruit susceptible to tumah, it has to be detached from the tree. Have a wonderful day and enjoy the sugya of yad and shomer.